Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for being here. As many of you know, I have a candle company and the end of this year, so the end of 22, marks our first full year in business. So I thought it might be interesting and helpful to go over all of the numbers with you guys. So let's just dive right into that. Full disclaimer here at the beginning, I am still learning a lot. There's a very good chance I'm gonna make mistakes with like verbiage or trying to explain things in this video, so please bear with me. I'm not perfect. I have no business experience, no true business experience. I am learning as I go, and I'm learning the terminology as I go too, so to state the obvious, to address the elephant in the room, I know 2022 is not quite over yet. However, I think we're close enough. I don't anticipate getting an influx of orders here at the end of the year. In fact, I've announced to my shop and on my socials and whatnot that I'm gonna be taking a break for a few weeks here at the end of this month just to spend time with my family this holiday season. So there is a possibility I can make a couple more sales here, but I really don't think it would amount to a whole lot anyway, so we're just gonna disregard that and say the last 2 weeks in December here equate to nothing. First thing to note of any importance is I was on Etsy exclusively until August of this year. At the end of August, actually on our birthday, our 1 full year in business, I migrated also onto Shopify. So we have 2 different sources of income as of August of this year. So we have Shopify and Etsy. Let's first take a look at gross numbers. So gross is just all of the money that I took in. It doesn't account for any fees, shipping, charges, anything like that. It's just the total amount of sales that I made. So the gross amount that I made on Etsy in 2022 is $1,171 flat. And it looks like I sold 29 items total on Etsy. On Shopify, in the couple months that I've had that, my gross earnings were $674.05. I do want to mention as well, there were a couple sales that I made in person to friends and family that dealt with cash, and so those were not registered in the systems here. I did go ahead and incorporate those into the total though. So in 2022, the gross amount that I earned was $2,042.61. Now let's get into the net amount. Now, my net amount, which this may be different depending on who you ask, it's very possible that I am calculating mine wrong. Net for me is taking into account seller fees, transaction fees, any refunds, things like that. It does not include my shipping costs that I ended up paying separately. So we'll get to that in a second here. But the net amount I made, so again, minus transaction fees, refunds, anything like that, was $1,764.14. Now from that net amount, I'm also going to have to pay probably around $200 in taxes from my Shopify purchases. It gets a little confusing here because Etsy automatically takes out the tax amount and holds it for you from each of your sales. Shopify does not do that. With the way I have my Shopify account set up, I do not charge tax on my products just because Colorado's a little bit weird with how they do that. Maybe it's not weird, maybe that's how it is elsewhere too, but I will be having to pay taxes separately on all of my Shopify sales. And I estimate that that amount that I'm going to have to pay come tax season is about $200. So if you deduct that $200 amount from the net total that we got, that brings our actual net down to about $1,564.14. So I have this spreadsheet here where I keep track of all of the money in, out, everything is here. A lot of small businesses use something like QuickBooks for this. I figured I'm not really at the point yet where I need something like QuickBooks, so doing it myself in Excel has been working fine for me. And I can quickly see, like how did quarter one do compared to quarter two, and so on and so forth. I also have all of my numbers totaled here, so we can very clearly see the amount that was spent, what I earned in a gross amount, and then what I earned in net. So gross versus net, I made about $500 more in gross sales than what I actually ended up seeing. It's gonna start to decrease even further now though, because let's talk about shipping costs. So I do charge shipping on my products. I charge a flat rate fee of $7 per order, up until orders over $150. If you spend $150, then you get free shipping, which is great, but most orders have a flat rate $7 fee for shipping. I will say I always end up spending more than $7 on shipping when I go to send you your items, so I have factored that cost into the products. If you weren't aware, candles are very expensive to ship because for me it's important that I have insurance included. Candles are very breakable if you did not know, and I can't even tell you how many claims I had to file this year to get money back on orders that were damaged in transit, so on and so forth. So I need insurance included. They need to be shipped in hard boxes because, again, they're fragile. My candles specifically are heavy. I sell concrete candles for the most part, like this here. So there's just a lot that goes into the logistics of my shipping. So on average, I'd say I probably spend $10 to $15 per order, and you only are charged $7. So in 2022, I spent a total of $552.25 on shipping. Let's talk about expenses, because in order to have a business, you have to put money into it. You have to have products. You have to be, if you're someone that makes things by hand like I do, you have to buy your materials and buy the things to make the products, right? So over the course of the last 12 months, I ended up spending $1,457.50, which is a lot. That is for things such as wax, fragrance oil. I'd say wax and fragrance oil are probably my biggest costs. You have to have wax and you have to have fragrance oil to create candles, obviously. So needed both of those. My perfume bottles were a fairly big expense this year. We started selling fine fragrances in 2022, which is great. Now that I'm on Shopify, I have to pay for my Shopify storefront every month. So it adds up. And so, yeah, I was a little surprised by that number. I didn't realize it was going to be that high. That also does not include shipping. So when all is said and done, when you total up all of that, you have your gross amount that's coming in, then you deduct your taxes and shipping and expenses and everything that goes into keeping your business alive and out and available for the public. My profit this year was negative $445.61, which means that I actually lost money this year by being in business. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little disheartening. However, that amount isn't as bad as it was last year, my first year in business. I think it took me about $1,000 to like $1,200-ish to buy all the materials and get going with my candle company. So I was more in the negative last year. It's still not great. However, a pattern I'm noticing is the first couple years that you're in business and just getting going, you tend to be in the red. And then there seems to come a turning point at like the year 2, 3, 4 plus mark where you finally get back on your feet, you get an understanding of what you're doing, you're more comfortable with margins and figuring out what you should be charging, and all of those little details that just take time. And while I would love to see that be a positive number, I'd love to be in the green with my business. I know that's coming. Negative 445, it's not as bad as it could be. I'm still happy with this. I'm happy that I surpassed $2,000 in gross sales. That's about double what I made last year. Granted, I was up and running about twice the time as I was last year. So, it's okay. It is what it is. I am taking everything that I am learning right now and everything that I've learned throughout this year and everything that I will continue to learn in 23 as just growth. And I am new to this. I'm still figuring out what works for me, what works for this company, and it just takes time. So those are the numbers that I wanted to share. I thought it would be fun to give you some extras and just some interesting numbers from all of that raw data there. Okay, so in digging through Shopify and Etsy, I discovered that I sold 90 items this year. That was cool. That means 90 of my candles or other products exist out there in the world with some of you guys, which is really, really cool. I didn't anticipate that number being so high, so I love that. I had no idea. Piggybacking off of that, my best month in terms of amount of items sold was October. I ended up selling 19 items in October. Items meaning either candles, trays, whatever I sell. I sell a variety of things at this point. So 19 of those 90 happened in October alone. My best month as far as numbers and money was September, where I sold a net amount of $425.14. Every year, the past 2 years that I've been in business, September has been my best month. Fall collection has just blown it out of the water both years. So moving forward into 2023, I really want to focus my efforts on our fall collection and putting out the most and best stuff at that point, because people get really excited about fall candles, right? And transitioning from summer to fall, it's great for candle companies. So that's great to know for next year. Let's talk about my worst months. So in both July and August, I made no sales. And June, I almost also didn't make any sales, but I had a couple big orders in June. So that's sort of an outlier, but we went almost the entire summer without selling any candles. I'm not entirely sure why that is. I have some theories, I feel like maybe room sprays and things that aren't like hot fire type things might do better in the summer months just because of how hot it is. I also have a feeling people might be worried to order candles in the summer months just because they might melt in transit. Who knows on that, but thought that was interesting. July and August, no sales at all. But then we really turned it around in September and had our best month. So it just goes to show how finicky candle companies and probably just companies in general can be. You really never know. But again, with the whole time thing, if you're keeping track of data like this, you can start to see patterns. And that actually brings me into my next fun fact for us. I, this year, started keeping track of all of the different sales that I run throughout the year. I don't do many. I try to not have my items on sale very often. It's not really my brand to do that. I sell really nice luxury candles, and so, I want to keep it that way. My best sale of the year was something that I named my imperfect candle sale. This is something I want to start to do biannually, so twice a year, just to clear out any inventory. With concrete candles specifically, they're so finicky, and wax can kind of start to seep to the outside of the candle after some time. So if I have a candle sitting in my inventory that hasn't sold in like 6+ months, oftentimes it'll start to get like staining spots on the exterior. Even though I do my best to seal them internally to avoid that and, take the appropriate measures and whatnot, it still happens. And so every 6 months, I want to start doing this imperfect candle sale where I sell off those pieces for a very discounted price. This year it was $6 per candle. And that went incredibly well. I sold 15 candles total and ended up making $135 in sales from that alone. So that was wonderful. My worst sales of the year were actually the other 3 that I did. So I only did 4 sales in 2022. The imperfect candle sale, I did a spring cleaning sale, a Labor Day sale, and then Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Labor Day, and my spring cleaning sale all were tied for the worst. I sold 2 units with each of those sales, and the worst numbers came from that spring cleaning sale where I think I was offering like 50% off my winter and fall collections just to clear those out. And I made a total of $39.97 net during that sale. I want to talk about Black Friday, Cyber Monday because I took this way too personally this year, but it did really pretty badly this year. Like I mentioned, I made 2 sales total, and I thought the deals I had were great. I mean, some items were like 75% off, and it just tanked, and I don't really know what happened. I sold a total net amount of that's actually the gross amount. Gross amount of $77.75. I think it was about $74 after taxes and seller fees and whatnot, something like that. Compared to Black Friday, Cyber Monday of last year, where the deals weren't as good, I sold $199.93 worth of merchandise. So this year I did about a third of what I had done last year. And I still don't know why this is. I thought maybe it was a thing with all companies due to the recession and people just not wanting to spend money. However, in doing a little bit of research, most companies had their best Black Friday, Cyber Monday this year. So I don't really know what happened. Taking this into consideration for next year, I'm not gonna put as much effort into it as I did this year. I mean, I was prepping for Black Friday for about a month this year, and so that was really disheartening, but it happens, and sometimes there's just no rhyme or reason. So I think instead of focusing my efforts on this next year, I'm going to more so focus on my fall collection launch, as that seems to be the thing that people get most excited for every year. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the inside look at my business's finances, and maybe you can relate, or maybe this was helpful for you. Honestly, I feel like business is just such a subjective thing. What has worked for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me. It's just something you got to get a feel for and learn from, and really, and I should take my own advice here, but don't take anything to heart. It's all a learning experience, especially the first couple of years in understanding the patterns of your business and figuring out how to pivot and move forward. And it has certainly been fun, even though my profit was in the negatives this year. That's okay. I have had the best time making candles and will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. So thank you so much for watching. If you do want to check out my candle company, that is linked below as always. I would love the support, even if you want to just go snoop around, see what you can find. And with that, you guys, I will see you in my next video.